Broadcasting from the Any Hour Services podcast studios, I'm your host, Mike Wilson, and on this episode of In the House, we're going to be talking about how to tell if a clog, like a clogged drain, is something that you need to worry about. Let's go. In the House is a podcast about the major systems in the house: electrical, plumbing, heating, air conditioning. Each week, we're going to pick a topic and we're going to discuss it. Now, the reason that we do this is because I've said this several times to radio hosts when I'm doing live radio. I'll actually say, if you know what you're looking for, a lot of times your blank, whether it's your air conditioner, furnace, your sewer system, it will tell you that it's having issues or that there's about to be a problem. And so that's one of the reasons that I like this long form content, is because the more you know before it's an issue, hopefully you can avoid the pain points, the biggest pain points. And one of the biggest pain points when it comes to clogs, like I mentioned, how do you know if a clog is something that you need to worry about, is because a lot of times before you end up with a sewer backup in your basement or in your house somewhere, a lot of times you'll get a clog first. But clogs are also a very common thing. So how do you know if a clog is the kind of clog that you need to worry about? And so that's what I wanted to unpack today on this episode. When you think of a sewer backup, I don't know, like I guess a clog, like a bad clog, if it's a sink or a shower or something, it's more of an annoyance and maybe an inconvenience. Probably some of the most disgusting clogs would be, like if a toilet clogs up and maybe it's starting to overflow, but usually you'll flush and you'll see the water's not going down, so you can stop and avert the drama until you're able to unclog it. But the kind of backups the sewer backups that I am really scared of in my house are the kind where sewage just kind of backs up in the basement and you are having to replace carpet and drywall, and it's nasty and stinky, and it's like, who's got time for that? No one, hopefully. I don't know. Austin, you got time for that?
I don't got time for that.
Ain't nobody got time for that. Do we get in trouble if we use sound bites and things like that?
No, not if we say it. If we start singing.
Well, no, I'm thinking the meme of ain't nobody got time for that. If it was to play over the top of it, I don't know.
Oh,
you get what I'm saying?
Yeah.
I don't know how, I know with licensed music and things that we can't just play a song. If I was to hit the button and One Is the Loneliest Number was the theme song because I'm by myself today, we couldn't just throw that on YouTube. It'd get pulled, but I just don't know if
I think we can use.
Ain't nobody got time for that.
We're going to try it. We're going to try it on this particular episode. So when we said that, find that sound bite and put it in and see if the episode gets pulled or not. So if you're on YouTube and you can't find this episode, leave me a comment. Just kidding. That was a stupid thing to say. Anyway, all right, back to clogs and how do you know if something is a clog that could potentially lead to a sewer backup. Let's go back for a second and just think, all right, what are the two common reasons that can cause a drain to drain slow or clog up? And I would say that one is restriction, the flow is restricted from buildup of either grease, soap scum, hair, or some combination of those, and it just is decreasing the amount of water that can flow. And so that'll usually exhibit as the drain is just draining slower. My wife is are you going to do something about the bathroom? The tub is it keeps draining slower and slower. So that one you might see coming. But again, it's one of those things where it's an annoyance and we just kind of ignore it because it feels like it's working. But we don't go and do something about it right then because it's more important to go watch Mad Men or, whatever your show of choice is instead of trying to figure out what's going on. Another common cause of a blockage is actually just a blockage, a foreign object, whether it is you flush too much toilet paper, too much waste, you got kids and you end up with Thomas the Train down the toilet and that, clogs it up. So that's a foreign object. That's one where, you know what it is, you get it out, and there's not a major issue, so that's probably not going to lead to a sewer backup. But you could get some kind of combination of those things where a foreign object goes down, where the flow has been restricted, maybe in a kitchen line or something like that, and it comes up. But the thing is like most of the time, like I said earlier, a clog isn't something that you have to worry about once you get it undone. But here's the key. If you have one of these two clogs that I'm about to describe, you're probably going to want to get it checked out, and you're not going to want to look at it as just an annoyance. You're going to want to look at it as a warning sign. This is one of those where I say, if you know what to look for, or you know what to watch for, or listen for, or whatever, if you're observant and paying attention, your home will tell you when it's having issues. It's like your body will tell you if it's getting sick. You'll feel it. Something will be off. And if you just pay attention to it and you take steps to fix it, maybe the downtime or the breakdown won't be as severe. So here we go. Think about the way that your home is constructed. If it's constructed in layers, the sewer system is usually going to be on the lowest part, or where it exits the home and goes out to the city or the street or whatever. It's going to all be gravity fed and culminate in this one point that then goes out, usually your sewer main line, that connects out to the city. You've got a bigger pipe that goes out and carries all of the water, all of the waste, and everything away from the home. If you can imagine, on that level, you also are going to have, on that lowest level of the home, you're probably going to have a bathroom or a sink or a floor drain or something like that, where if you're going to have a backup, you're probably going to notice some issues on that lowest level first. So if you have multiple drains in the lowest level of the house, like a floor drain and a bathroom sink, or the shower and a floor drain, or the shower and the sink, they're both having issues, that could be a sign that you've got a bigger issue with your main line that could lead to a backup. If you flush a toilet and the water comes up somewhere else, like in a shower or a floor drain, that could be a sign that you've got an issue with your sewer main line. Now, if we go back to the two common causes of a blockage, either reduction in flow or a foreign object, that applies to your sewer main line as well. And the sewer main line should be the biggest drain leading from your home. And so if it made it through a bathroom sink, it should have no problem getting through the sewer main line. If it made it through the tub or through the toilet, it shouldn't have an issue going out of the main line. But the types of things that cause restriction in your sewer main line, roots are a very common one. At least they are here in Utah. I know they are, all over the country. Another one would be, now a belly, that will slow the flow, not necessarily reducing the flow, but that can cause an issue as well. If the water it's supposed to have a constant slope away from the home so that gravity can do its thing. But anything that's going to slow the flow of water that is carrying stuff away, that can cause things to slow down, and you could have debris, waste, toilet paper, things stop in that line because the water it runs into more water as far as a belly is concerned, and it starts to pile up, and that starts restricting the flow of the water, and things just start hanging up, and then before you know it, boom, you've got a backup. If you've got a pipe misalignment, so you've got joints where this line is going out to the street, and if those joints, because of ground settling or it just wasn't put together well, if those joints separate, that can cause a lip that slows the water. Things get hung up on it. A partial collapse or a full collapse. So there's several things that can restrict the flow, and all of those things that restrict the flow make it easier for debris to get caught up, and that's a foreign object that can get caught up on things, and then before you know it, nothing's able to get down the line, and you end up with a backup. That's why you want to be worried about if you've got a clog on the lowest level of the home in multiple drains, or if you flush the toilet and the water comes back up somewhere else, like a floor drain or a tub. Those are the ones that you want to worry about. Now, you think, well, what do I need to do in that situation? If you've got an issue in your main line, it's not something that a plunger is necessarily going to fix. And most homeowners aren't going to have the kinds of tools and equipment that you need to be able to check out what's going on, because the first thing you're going to want to do is probably send some type of drain, snake, or cabling equipment down the line so that you can tell if it's just a blockage or something to get the stuff out of the way. The next step may need to be that you send a camera down the line. So getting a qualified drain person that knows what they're dealing with, like at our company, it's a drain technician, and that's all they do day in and day out are clear drains. They go out to homes where people are having issues, and they'll run a snake, they might run a jetter, they'll run cameras. So if you've got a mainline issue, if you've got one of those things, call a professional, because again, I can't emphasize enough how, like, don't just ignore this and think like, I'm too busy to deal with this right now. And I get that you might be, and it might be going slow or whatever, and you want to call somebody, but don't put it off indefinitely, because I really hate to, I don't know, have any of you listening or watching, however you're consuming this, ever had to deal with a backup in your basement? Leave me a comment below if you've ever had to deal with it. And then if you did have to deal with it, think back for a second. I know it's probably a traumatic time and you don't want to remember it, but think back. Were there any warning signs? Like, did you have some issues? Were some drains going slow? Were you experiencing these things that we were talking about? And leave them down in the comments and bring some value to the episode. That's all I got on this particular topic. I wanted to get the warning out there, because I don't know. It would suck to have that as an issue, and you didn't know that, if I had only known that was a warning sign. So this is me trying to share this as a warning sign. I hope that was helpful. If there's other things that you'd like to know, leave them down in the comments as well. We're always looking at things. If you've got questions, maybe we should do an episode where we just answer questions. Take a bunch of comments and questions that we've gotten from the different episodes and just do a Q&A, or it wouldn't be a AMA, like an Ask Me Anything, because you'd have to have people live at the time, right? I don't know. I just get on here and talk. I don't actually know the fancy jargon and details of how it all works. I'm just trying to bring you some value. Anyway, that's this week's show. We'll be back. Austin, you got anything to add? You last time, we did an electrical episode. You were like, I got a panel that I'm always tripping breakers. Are you always clogging your toilets?
Funny enough, actually,
oh no,
because it always comes up. It's kind of nice for this job that I live in such an old house, because it's got all the problems.
I feel exactly the same way, because all the DIY videos that we do, all at my house.
Seriously.
Anyway, so what issues you got?
So the house I live in was built by my grandpa.
That's cool.
And he didn't like to spend, like both of us, any more than he needed to when he was making something.
Okay.
So my pipes will go from, an inch, and then if he had the right fitting, then it might drop down to 3/4, and then it might drop down to half, but then jump back up to an inch.
Oh, wow.
So it just is these really garbage pipes. Who knows how they're connected under the house? Who knows where the leaks are? Anyway, so to your point about clogs, my kitchen sink, if anything thicker than milk goes down the drain, I'm in trouble.
Wow.
So I've got filters and stuff to catch everything. The only thing goes down there is water. And because I've run into issues, I've had our guys out there, and they've both times said, hey, I can't fix the main issue. You need to rehaul all your pipes. So I'm kind of limping along till I leave. But
that's somebody else's problem at that point.
Seriously. But yeah, it just is. I've got a flat plunger that I keep next to my shower, because every now and again my shower will back up, and while I'm in there, I'll plunge it. It'll last me just long enough, and it's, it's a mess. And like for anybody dealing with these issues that is owning the house and has a basement, or because it's all one level and it's not going to go anywhere, you know. But if anybody listening has definitely like owns it, you got to take care of it.
Yeah, that's the situation with Austin, is that he's renting the place, and so there's a different mentality when you're a renter and when you're a homeowner. Because like if something backs up and you end up with like a flood or something, like it would suck, you know, as a renter to like have your stuff ruined, but you're not on the hook to, you know, replace the sewer line at that point and to do this and do that. So, you know, if you're a renter, I would say bring the stuff up to your landlord's attention, and then, you know, it's on them. If you're a renter and you know that there's major issues, renter's insurance is pretty cheap. Like look into getting some of that. But if you're a homeowner, just know that like if you are dealing with any of those things, and like with Austin saying, if the shower backs up and you got to plunge it just to get through the shower, like you got some issues going on. And if you don't do something about them, now that you've heard this, if you choose not to do something, you're choosing to roll the dice and take chances. And it's not a matter of if it's going to back up and have an issue. It's a matter of when. So anyway, good input. Good luck with that. But you're moving from there soon, aren't you?
Yeah.
Your new place won't have that issue.
No, all new pipes, PEX, no more galvanized. Get me out of this galvanized garbage. I can't handle it.
You said galvanized. I was trying to think of like Guardians of the Galaxy, Guardians of the Galvanized, but then I was thinking Avengers, you need protection. I don't know. Never mind. I don't know where I was going with that. I thought it was going to be clever, but as you can see, it wasn't. Anyway, we'll be back next Thursday with a new episode of In the House. Thanks so much for listening. I've been your host, Mike Wilson. If you want to know more about Any Hour Services, check out anyhourservices.com. Thanks so much for watching or listening. See ya.